Good evening, Speed Gaming, and welcome to another race in the A Link to the Past Randomizer Tournament 2023 edition. And tonight, we have ourselves in Vrosia between two runners that are fighting it out in Group AD. On the left, tstew14 with a record of 1-3, needing 2 wins and a Paraducks loss in his final match to force a tiebreaker. Paraducks needs a win in his final 2 matches to advance to the bracket stage. 2 wins would give him the group. And good evening, everybody. I'm Leslie Pro tonight. I am joined by Greg. We are starting in the Dark World, and in Vrosia, the big keys are also in the shuffle. We start with the big key to Skullwoods. How you doing tonight, Greg?
I am doing great, and honestly, I love inverted as a mode. I know that's a bit of a controversial take, but I am a big fan of the mode. I mean, in Vrosia, you start with the sword, the big keys are shuffled, but nothing else is, so every dungeon is basically just +1 item. And we've got route divergence right here at the start. tstew taking that Skull Woods, that fetch quest big key out of Link's house, and is gonna go to Skull Woods up here. He's gonna farm bombs first by dropping down here, but gonna immediately turn in that fetch quest otherwise. Now Paraducks is taking south to Stumpy. I think 20 rupees that he got off that tree pole is enough to play the arrow game. Gonna make him some money so he can play the digging game.
Skullwoods is a pendant. tstew getting his health back up to 3 hearts. Oh, and Stumpy had the Quake Medallion.
Yeah, that Quake Medallion, something not going to do too much right now, but if we get a flute, it could get us into Misery Mire a bit later. Could get us through the front door of Turtle Rock in a little bit. But I guess with the sword, can always use it.
Yeah, it can be a... Wow! That just came up Millhouse for tstew as he gets the hammer.
That's another big one. Does great damage compared to the fighter sword. Honestly, we rag on the hitbox a lot, but when your alternative is the fighter sword, it's not completely terrible. And it's a piece of Light World access.
That is very true. Paraducks only got 20 rupees from the dig game, but still did some digging to make up the losses.
Yeah, that dig game cost him 80 rupees, and I mean, he only came out 13 behind, so he got at least a little bit back. Aside from the dig game, there's not a ton to use rupees on in the super early game of Ambrosia. But once you get Light World access, Bottle Vendor, King Zora, pretty much all right there available to you. And here's the bomb
got a bomb drop from a baby Helmasaur.
Yep. And that pairs very well with the fact that 2 of those pots are guaranteed bomb drops, like we're seeing from Paraducks there as well. So you can just repeatedly die, farm up 2 at a time pretty quickly when you're only on 3 hearts. Get a little bit of magic here too, which we can use that Quake Medallion that tstew doesn't have yet. Ten arrows. That's 2 items out of Skull Woods. Normally that would be it, but with the big key shuffled, there is a 3rd item around in this dungeon. tstew not going to check the big chest, though.
Paraducks did, but I did not see what it was. And to answer chat, this is in Vrosia, where we start in the Dark World, and big keys are involved in the item pool. So each dungeon is going to have 1 more. Oh, it was a compass. So yeah, nothing too big out of that. While we get a Sea House check from tstew. Heart container.
Oh, actually, I think the last piece of Ambrosia, items guaranteed on bosses. I blanked on that detail for a
Yes.
little bit, but it does mean Paraducks not going to find the third item here because Mothula is going to be holding it. So he's seen the map and compass. This is going to be a small key.
And the wine cellar holds a piece of heart.
Yep. So we'll just go to Thieves Town here. I mean, no big key means that we are restricted to the front four as we get the map check here. Green Pendant, Ice Palace, 5-6 crystals, Misery Mire, and Thieves Town. And then the pendant at Gold Woods, we already knew.
This was definitely a good start. Just need a glove to get to Light World now.
Yeah, and we're not falling into the... Inverted seems to have a pretty high proportion of Aghanim required seeds compared to regular. Paraducks gets the glove out of Hype Cave there. We don't need to do that this seed.
Yeah, that is correct. The only... Well, unless there's a required item at Lumberjack Tree, that has not changed.
That is true, and we probably won't see that until the boots show up somewhere.
Now, if you thought for a second that was going to be big key of this dungeon, you wouldn't be half wrong, because that can happen there. Not this time. Desert Palace big key.
Yeah, and with only one pendant in the light world, pretty solid odds that we do need that big key, but I don't think Paraducks is going to be missing it either. tstew going to take the save and quit. This is presumably going to be Hype Cave, where he'll get his light world access. And then we'll see how he routes it from there, because he'll be right next to the portal south of Link's house.
There are a number of ways that this can be routed.
Yeah, because once you have Flight World access here, that is your traditional open mode Sphere 1. Pretty much all open to you all at once, with no real guidance on where to go. And with no mirror in hand, if tstew just takes the Light World portal here, he's actually kind of really isolating Stumpy that had the Quake medallion and Dig Game, which we know was nothing, but still a Sphere 1 check. But it's going right for it.
No map check just yet.
Not even going to check the dam. Looks like he's taking South Route straight into the village. And we're going to see one of the several changes that was made to the overworld for Inverted. All those mirror spots in the light world from your regular seeds, they are just freely accessible now, since mirror takes you from light world back to dark, so you would have no way to get to them otherwise. So, like this cave right here.
Yep, 300 rupees in K45. And note that the grass says VT. There's a reason for that, but I do not remember what it is off the top of my head.
Shoutouts to Vtorp, the main developer behind the Rando. And our map check there says our last pendant is in fact Desert Palace. So that Desert Palace big key, looking kinda questionable, because unless we need to dip that dungeon, we're not really looking at needing that key.
I did not see what was at the race game, but whatever it is, tstew wants it.
We don't know what it is. It's a big key of some form.
Makes it worth grabbing, and it's the Meyer big key. And knowing Meyer's 5-6 crystal, yeah, we're gonna need that.
Yep. Although actually, I should take a second to note while we're talking about big keys. There is one exception to the wild big keys. Ganon's Tower big key, going to be somewhere in the depths of Ganon's Tower basement, just as usual. Everything else is just in the broader item pool, but Ganon's Tower is still in its own dungeon.
Nice. Master Sword behind the bar.
That is a great item to find early on, just because it increases the odds you'll find the Tempered Sword, which is the real prize among the swords. But really, Master Sword takes you from I cannot win the game to I can win the game, so it's very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though the Silverless Master Sword fight is not very fun. Oh, flippers.
Yep. And we see Paraducks entering the light world up at the Kakariko Lost Woods portal there. Gonna do the Lost Woods checks and then presumably head down to the villages. There's some Maria for tstew. Kakariko looking pretty good.
And getting his money back with the good B. I like that move.
Yeah, you will very frequently see runners try to do that, but they are too far to the right where the weather vane, the flute spot, is visible on the screen. And if you do that, the bee will just fly there and you won't get your money back. But tstew far enough left, didn't have that problem. And we do have both runners in the well.
And high-fiving in the well as well. Nothing worth writing home about here.
I mean, that 300 put tstew above the 500 cutoff when he has already paid the bottle vendor. I think there's another 300 somewhere that Paraducks has not yet stumbled on, but probably will. I think it was Chicken Hut, or was that something else? I don't know.
Nope,
Maybe that was
K45, Chicken Hut was Flipper.
Right, K45 was it. That'll put Paraducks above that 500 threshold as well, and with the flippers in hand, Zora very, very easy to combine with the South Shore checks, just like in a typical open seed.
So that second bottle that tstew just grabbed is a fairy in a bottle.
Fairly nice. Decent bit of safety, especially early on before you're even on 7 hearts. tstew gonna go north here. I assume he's gonna loop this all the way through, check the Lost Woods items, probably check the Lumberjack, he's walking right by it. And then from there, I would expect him to walk over to Graveyard Ledge and drop into the back of Escape.
That sounds about right to me.
And I mean, this is good from tstew, I think. The Northern Light World, that whole region is actually very easy to isolate in Ambrosia if you start at the Kakariko Village portal like Paraducks did. Or if you're doing like Aghanim and you try to go through the castle and the small key's not available. But gonna see Lumberjack here in a second. Last chance for people who want to see a castle tower climb.
Something blue. I didn't see it.
I think it was just bombs. Not 100% sure on that, though. We'll see if Paraducks goes over there after doing these Lost Woods checks and gives us another look. Chat's also saying bombs, so I don't think we're going to be killing Aghanim.
Unless something really wacky happens, and Ambrosia can add some wacky Aga 1 requirements. Like for Moon Pearl on because the blacksmith is the Moon Pearl, that can happen, and that one's pretty dumb, as I've heard. Oh,
that was the mirror.
Mirror. That is not bombs, chat. That is a mirror.
We are going to kill
believe
Aghanim
we are
today.
going to need that.
Absolutely. Because Inverted does not get rid of the mirror requirement for Swamp Palace, friends. Also, mirror, very, very relevant for Turtle Rock in Inverted, because you can just hop to some of those ledges on Light World Death Mountain, and you can mirror to any of the Turtle Rock entrances, even just straight to Laser Bridge if you want.
That would be a good one for go mode. Just saying.
Yeah, especially with wild big keys, you can just, if you're in go mode, just mirror to Laser Bridge, take the big key right in.
Oof, a hook shot. That's pretty good.
Yeah, we don't technically have access to Death Mountain, at least not in Logic. We can lift the rock and go that way if we want. But, well, what does tstew want to do here, I wonder? Because, I mean, we've got the whole South Shore and Hyrule Castle areas in the Light World, as well as the water checks there in the Eastern Palace area. In the Dark World, we can get over to Pod, but with no bow, no lamp, that's a bit of a tough sell. It's looking like Mountain for tstew, though.
Catfish is also an option, even though that's a one-off.
Yes, and that is... It's actually less terrible of a check to get to in Inverted, because you start at the Dark Sanctuary in the Northern Dark World, and you can just hop across with the flippers, or even with a kern jump, if you're really wanting to get over there. But it is still a relatively isolated location.
Yep, as is the Pyramid Ledge. But that could have something here.
Yeah, Pyramid Ledge, also another one of those. It is very much in Logic right now. Flippers or Hammer gets us there, actually. Paraducks is going to show us these K45 that we saw on tstew's side, but also picked up that shovel in the Lost Woods, going to be able to turn it in here. And then presumably go back down Dam, Mini Moldorm Cave, Ice Rod Cave, and so on.
Single arrow, and Paraducks is not interested.
Well, you can dig up a unique item at least. Shoutouts to the old hint system that went away very quickly after everybody realized they didn't like it, at least for racing.
I miss it personally. That's just me.
It was very divisive. I know that there were people that liked it, but I also know that it went away very quickly. So
Personally, I feel the hints balance the randomizer a little bit, but that's just me. Ooh, nice shot, nice block clip.
and I again could not tell just from that 1 or 2 pixels what that was, but tstew is not going for it, so presumably not anything of note.
The dam has a heart container.
Yeah. It's better than a piece of heart, but eh. Got 12 items coming up here in real short order between the two runners. Just the fetch quest mushrooms. So, oh, there's the boots.
Boots! South Shore has the footwear.
Now, this is a really interesting question of when do you do Aghanim? Because I know we don't have the lamp right now, and we don't even have the fire rod to handle some of those more difficult rooms. But if either of these runners can do Aghanim in the dark, I do feel like there is a legitimate case to be made, just because of how useful the mirror can be for getting around and switching between the worlds. But I
Yeah,
still don't
definitely.
expect it. But yeah, at this point, if I'm Paraducks and I see the lamp, I immediately go kill Aghanim. At least that's what I would do personally.
Same here. Also, speaking of ledges dropping to jump down, you can't jump down to Mimic Cave in vanilla or anything outside of inverted or inversia. Here you can do that. Unfortunately for tstew, just a big 20.
Yeah, and double, unfortunately for tstew, doesn't have that mirror we've been talking about, which just means he can't go check out some of Turtle Rock. If he had that, that would be just a very legitimate option for him right there.
That's a net gain for Paraducks with that bug net.
Yeah, unfortunately, the bug net was the one item taken off the tracker to make room for the key sanity options so that we could show you guys the big keys. But he has it, even if it won't ever show up on that tracker. Now, Tower of Hera here for tstew. This is a crystal. This should be the first one of the game. Paraducks getting Thieves Town big key. Okay, we can go back and clear that dungeon for a crystal now.
I think tstew forgot he had a fairy because he went to Death Warp only for the fairy to say, "I'm helping."
Yep.
Not when you're trying to Death Warp and you have that in your possession. Then it's not so much.
Yeah. The good news is that he can still take advantage of the health refill here for the Hera pot. He'll place the bomb here, and he's going to blow himself into the pot, and going to let the explosion just clip him 1 pixel in, which will let him hook shot and fall into the pot. I think that, yeah, that position is good. I think, was that another, or no, Paradox got blue potion from the fairy there. I didn't see what the first item in the waterfall cave was, though.
Nothing of importance. Also worth noting that Herapod is out of logic if you don't have the big key for Tower of Hera.
Yep, and it does mean tstew is very much isolating the big chest here, but we found one item. Actually, I think it was, what, one item in a map, and we know Moldorm will have a second.
Oh no, tstew put himself down the hole, and it's the center hole. That's a 2-floor drop.
No, it feels really bad. You never want to see the middle hole.
For sure. Meanwhile, Paradox picks up magic powder at King Zora.
Yep, nice little fetch quest there. We did see the mushroom on tstew's side, and we do have the Cane of Samaria, so fake powder theoretically on the table if tstew doesn't get to the Zora area before doing that. But powder just means that the check itself is available in logic. And tstew with the equalizer against Moldorm.
tstew first on the board with crystals, but Paradox is going back into Thieves Town to finish the dungeon now that he has the big key.
Yep, so the back here will take a little bit of time for Paradox, just a bit of running around to the attic, to the basement, escorting the fake maiden. But we'll be equalizing the crystal score pretty shortly here.
And that powder's gonna be of benefit in the event of running low on health, because Hellway can certainly feel like a Hellway, for sure, and it'll give you a beating.
Yeah, Paradox took a good chunk of damage there, but You will be able to come back down into that and use the powder on the anti-fairy there for a good refill. Alternatively, he's the one with the net. He could fill the bottle if he wanted. Okay, tstew, save and quit back home. I'm going to assume this is going to be all the South Light World stuff for him. Yep, swapping to hammer there. And yeah, magic powder turns turns anti-fairy into fairy. No problem at all.
Equally impressive block clip with the hook shot from tstew.
Yeah, block clipping with the hook shot, not quite as easy as it looks. And if you screw it up, there is a minor penalty associated with it. Just because you gotta push blocks around still that you weren't planning on. But good job on both of them for it.
Big Chest had a compass in Thieves Town, but I don't think Paraducks was item counting at that point, which, if he was, probably wouldn't have opened that. Yet, when you double dip a dungeon, it's very easy to lose track. Okay, Blind's got puns for days. What's on the menu? Dark Aga Room's not a bright idea. It's like the game knows that it's an Aga seed, and you don't have the lamp yet. So, the game's telling you, don't do it. Perfect blind script from Paraducks, by the way.
Yeah, good fight, no damage. Got the crystal, equalized that score. And we'll see where he goes next. Mountain is an option. I mean, it is out of logic for him like it was for tstew, but it is there. No, Paraducks headed back to the light world, it looks like.
I'm wondering which of our two runners is going to make their way towards the east side of the light world, towards Eastern and Pod. Nice water walk from tstew, by the way.
Yep. You arm the water walk with the boots by dashing next to the pit like he did. And then you activate it by jumping straight south. The trick to what tstew did, he wasn't straight south, he jumped off that angled ledge, so he had a normal swim. And then it activated when he jumped straight south off the waterfall.
Magic bat time for Paraducks. Let's see what we get.
Survey says... heart container.
And it looks like the Vire had heart after all.
Had too much of it, he wanted to give you one. And yeah, you were right when you said that first item in the waterfall fairy was nothing of note. Paraducks scouting out this big key on the ledge here, but that's Misery and Mire, which we do need. I mean, Paraducks gonna go grab every big key at this point, because the only one that marginal would be Swamped at this point. I guess Ice 2 is a pendant, but even that one's green.
A bottle with red potion in it at King Zora, so kind of a scam, but not really. Mileage might vary on that one.
Yeah, like, once you spit it out, you're never gonna turn it down. But probably would not have gone and paid 500 rupees for it if you'd known in advance. Looks like this is going to be the mountain for Paraducks. Is this going to be catfish? Nope. Not for tstew.
Also worth noting, Bumper Cave not going to have anything of importance.
Yep, and that does rule out one use for the mirror at least, but we still absolutely have to have it for Swamp and very likely for Turtle Rock. And for chat asking, yes, Ganon's Tower Big Key is in Ganon's Tower in this mode, just like it is every mode we're playing in the tournament. But definitely yes in GT. All the other big keys are just scattered around though.
So another play we have yet to see is our runners heading over to East Dark Death Mountain, which is doable by way of walking past Ganon's Tower, which in any inverted mode is going to be Aga Tower. But the challenge is you've got Lionels shooting beams at you. Those do it quite a bit of damage. Our runners can get past that by manipulating the enemy movement or just taking the Lionels out with Master Sword spins or hammer strikes.
Also have the option of using Hookshot for invulnerability frames to just avoid the shots, but it's a very tough sell to get runners to go up there at this point, because their only access to the mountain is through the Old Man Cave, and you have to go back and turn in the Old Man. And that requires going to the Light World, which makes it pretty tricky to get back to the Dark World there with no mirror, and we know the mirror is on the Lumberjack, so... Anyways, while these runners are both kind of just retracing the other steps from the past few minutes, I do want to shout out, say follow them. Their links have been in Twitch chat a little bit for those of you watching live. tstew14, Paraducks64. Go give them Twitch follows, guys. They deserve it. They're putting on the race for us. Without them, we wouldn't have anything to talk about. And it is shaping up to be a pretty interesting one, because they've been on different routes, but you can tell from the fact that they're pretty much on top of each other's previous checks at this point. There's not really a big difference between them. Not at this point.
True. I think the one advantage Paraducks has is getting boots early. tstew must have been, I think tstew is keeping track of how many items are left, because he's just avoiding the big chest. And this is the correct call here, because the big chest will have the compass, while Boss is going to have the final item. And Blind being a scripted fight, I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem, because if your moves are the same, the results are going to be the same.
Yep, and the so-called script has the advantage of it hits Blind on the first frame that he's vulnerable every time. So if you do it perfectly, it is theoretically the perfect fight. tstew got a little bit off there, took a hit, but still did it pretty well. You see Blind died right there in the middle. In general, the further left he is, the better you did. Anyways, Paraducks showing us an alternate method for Herapod involving a super speed. Actually, what was in this chest? A compass. So I think there is an item left behind in Tower of Hera, whether it's in the big chest or the big chest has the small key leading to the basement.
Both of those are possible. Now, tstew sees the big 20, And because he's already over 900 rupees, says, no thanks. So a bit of time saved there over Paraducks.
Yep. Also not going for those extra digs just to try to build up a little bit of funds like Paraducks did in the super early game. But we are equalized here on 2 crystals. And tstew headed for the East Mountain, it looks like now. The Dark East Mountain, specifically. But honestly, at this point, even more than this area, since this area is out of logic, I'm giving like Eastern Palace and the Palace of Darkness kind of the side eye right now, even without a bow.
Yeah, same here. There's just so many checks there. You can't, it's kind of hard to ignore that. And ooh, nice movement by tstew to get past the Lionels. It's Ether to get into Turtle Rock, so Turtle Rock, not yet, and here comes Paraducks on the same route.
Yeah, we'll see if we've got the key right next to the door. There it is. So we can get into the front of Turtle Rock now.
Matt. There's the Titan's Mitt, which does have some use in Inversion, not just King's Tomb.
Yeah, without the mirror in hand, the Titan Smiths actually are relevant for the Smith chain as well. Because typically you bypass the mitts requirements on that in Ambrosia by using the mirror from the Light World. But we know that's on Lumberjack, so...
That's going to be nice. tstew has Tempered Sword, but Paraducks is going to go right into, or at least open Turtle Rocks. Is he going to go back for it, or is he going straight in? Because Tempered Sword is a better combat option over the Master Sword.
Yeah, but at the same time, the likelihood that Paraducks does not get stopped at the very first chest here without the Fire Rod is pretty slim. I would be shocked if he could get further in than Chain Chomps. And for that, not having the Master Sword, not going to be a huge loss, and he can just double back and grab it, save and quit out of Super Bunny.
That's Ice Palace logic, by the way, with that Bombos medallion.
Yep. And a lot of runners swear by the so-called rule of fire. If you've got Bombos, Fire Rods, and Ice Palace... But
I've actually had Fire Rod on Cold Stare before, and I called it a Raging Cold Stare because Rage Rod on Cold Stare made sense to me.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Although I will note that Bombos is out of logic until we find either a flute or a lamp. The entire mountain is. Oh, tstew going for the Dark Aga play. Wants that mirror really badly. We'll see how he does with it, because this is not something that runners typically practice, and it's not easy, especially the room with the pits.
Yeah, this is something that I've maybe attempted like only once or twice, never successfully completed. But the fact that they're both doing it, okay, this is very bold, and I am loving it.
Well, I think if you're going to do it at any time without fire, now is definitely the time, because you are already on the mountain anyways. Like, you walk by the tower, and you're walking by it again. Like, if you're gonna do it now. Or just wait until Lamp, who knows when that is.
Absolutely, because Lamp could be in a number of locations, and some of them pretty gross, too.
Yeah, and the other thing that I have no idea about with either of these runners, but is a potential factor, I know that in the multi-world community specifically, when you've got nothing to do because all the items you're waiting on are in other people's games, Dark Aghanim more of an option than it would usually be, because the other option is just not doing anything. So I wonder if both of these runners have dabbled or even have extensive experience in that who have done it that way, especially with the sword to guide him. But I just heard tstew, or was that Paraducks?
Yeah,
One of the two
tstew
fall
go
into a
down
pit.
the hole. And this is where a ranged item like a boomerang does help gauge distance between where you are and the wall, as well as Samaria. Except tstew took one bad step.
Yeah, and this is the difficulty in Dark Aghanim, this room right here. If you can get through this, tstew is probably pretty good. And he's pushing the Samaria block slowly and gently to... Ooh, too far! He pushed it off the pit and then...
far!
He pushed the block off the pit, then he followed it in, unfortunately. But yeah, shoutouts to chat saying, didn't see this coming. I don't think anybody's seeing much of anything right now.
Paraducks gets through first. Nicely done.
Yeah, we were focused on tstew there because we had the audio to hear him falling, but Paraducks enters second, exits the dark first. Definitely... I'm not necessarily going to say more practice just because of the nature of doing those dark rooms, but definitely a better performance in there for sure.
tstew clears out the room, gets the key, and is on to floor 5.
Yeah.
So chat, how many blue balls are we going to see?
Yeah, pick a number between a 0 and 15. Although 15 is the sole domain of, is it Scrivo? I think it is. And it is worth mentioning that both runners will have the same Aghanim RNG, so as long as they don't miss, they will get the same number of blue ball attacks. Oh, Paraducks
is going Swagnet strat. There's one. Ooh, nice item dash with a hook shot on tstew's end.
Yeah, that might be a high score, at least as far as I've seen. I haven't seen anybody actually get to the top, but maybe it's happened.
Yeah, that's the farthest I've seen myself. And so far, we're up to 3. Here comes a red.
Yep, the way Aghanim's attacks work, it works in cycles of 5. The first one is always a reflectable red, orange, whatever shot. The 5th one is always lightning. And the middle 3 in there are 50-50 between reflectable or the blue. We're not getting 15.
Shooting blue quite a bit today. We're up to 5 on Paraducks end.
Yep. I think the maximum now is going to be like 9, though. And that's the absolute worst case. That, I believe, is 6.
Yep. And that's 7.
So that should be our final count, I believe. I'm pretty sure I've seen 4 reflected shots so far, 5 to kill. And this one is going to be guaranteed.
And that'll do it. It was a 7 blue ball fight. Ooh. Spicy.
I do see a couple 7s in chat, so good job to the people who said that. You won the first guessing game of the seed. But how about second guessing game? Nah, that's a ways off. We're not doing that yet.
The Paraducks is parlaying this into castle checks.
Yeah, literally no better time to do it. It does drop you right on top of the castle. And yeah, tstew doing the same, going into Uncle. And Paraducks going to go into the castle proper for the 3 checks there. Presumably going to take a Death Warp out of the cell so that he can go to either the Eastern Palace area or up to get that mirror off the Lumberjack. Okay, Paraducks. Yeah, he's death warping, 100%.
T-Stew's not even going to bother. This is a bold play. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Okay, never mind. He's going this way. Is he turned into mushroom yet? No, that must be where he's going. Okay, yeah, so he'll turn into mushroom and then he'll swim across the river to get the mirror. And then at that point, a save and quit will actually put him back on top of the castle, which means that those checks inside the castle can be gotten pretty much at his convenience. Any save and quit in the light world will do it. Wanted the refill.
That must not have been a very 1 rupee for the mushroom. That must not have been a very good mushroom.
I think actually that's the first time I've ever seen the 1 rupee in particular for it.
It's a map, so there is something at Dark Cross, while King's Tomb has a piece of heart.
But that is something that just mitts in hand, may as well cross it off the board, especially while you're running by it anyways. Actually, I think it would be a small key in Dark Cross. Or what's the small key in the back? I think it was in the back, actually. But we didn't see either runner take it. Yeah, but nobody took it to Dark Cross, so that is still going to be an item, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be something. No idea what, though.
Well, for Paraducks, that's pretty much the same as I was describing earlier for tstew. Any save and quit in the light world with the mirror in hand dumps you on top of the castle. So he can just hop in and check that whenever he wants if he needs to. But it is pretty isolated, even considering that.
Yeah, from here, my play would be going to Eastern and then use mirror. Well, you can't exactly do it the way you do it in a typical seed because you still need to open pod before it'll work. But you still, while the mirror play works, you still got to go get the monkey.
Yeah, I think you can grab the monkey and then use a bomb to avoid going through the mirror portal, and that should work.
There's another way to do it that I know of. You can just drop a can of Samaria block and walk through, because if you're holding something over your head, the portal doesn't grab you, for whatever reason.
Right, so that's the same concept as the bomb then. Bomb, Samaria, take your pick. But definitely completely right there. As long as you're holding something, you cannot go through portals.
Now, one thing I can say is that's the way it is for overworld portals. I can't say if that... Because honestly, I don't know if that's the same for the dungeon portals in, say, Ganon's Tower, for example.
I don't actually know either, I guess. Because in like the ones in Ganon's Tower, the ones that you want to skip, you always see people just do that little bonk thing to get over it instead of carrying a bomb. Which I would assume is faster, but also interesting. Now we see tstew showing off the power of the mirror here. Is going to give us the Dark Cross check.
Paraducks is going to give us Swamp Palace, but he forgot to pull the lever.
Yep. So he'll just pull it here and then mirror right back in. And this is going to be full clearable. Got hammer, got hookshot. Even got Samaria for diver down strats to get both left side and the back. That's a time save rather than a requirement, but it's still nice to have. Oh.
Wow. That's pretty huge. A Dark Cross bow is likely going to send tstew over to pod in Eastern.
Yeah, because you've done Aghanim in the dark. There is no reason to think you won't do pod in Eastern in the dark at that point.
Yeah, that's very true.
Now, the big thing for Paraducks here is, like I said earlier, A, any save and quit does put him in a good position to get that bow as long as it's out of the light world. And B, there is a second bow in the item pool. If tstew finds it, it'll be his silver arrows, but for Paraducks, depending on how long that Dark Cross gets put off, or like if it's here in Swamp, that could be his bow. But until we see something like that, that is definitely a very big find for tstew. Puts him in a very solid position here. Because actually, we could be looking at flute plus rods for go mode right now on tstew's side. Actually, yeah, that is flute plus rods go mode. The only things that tstew could. Well, no, there's still big keys as well, and that book is not something we wanted to see. But I completely forgot about big keys. Sorry.
Yeah, we do need big keys, and that book is, I would consider, pretty important, because now that opens up the tablets, and on top of that, we do also get access to Desert Palace, as that is the one guaranteed way to get into this dungeon in Inverted.
Yeah, chat reminding me I was having an inverted moment there. We can mirror from Desert into Mire, so no flute necessary. But you are right, that book, like, Desert Palace, there is no backdoor into Desert like there is in a regular open standard seed. There is just the book entry. And with Desert being a pendant, and not even the green one at that, didn't really want to see it. But at the same time, we've got the big key, we've got the boots, we are missing fire to kill the boss, though. It's a very intriguing option, I would say.
Left side swamp having the magical cape doesn't do really too much. Well, speaking of fire sources, there's the fire rod. So we did have to do left side swamp in this seed. As for the cape, that lets us do Spike Cave guaranteed. I mean, potions do too, but the cape is actually pretty helpful in that regard.
Yeah, so the way that Spike Cave actually works is that it is Cane of Burna will do it on its own, or Magic Cape will do it if you've got some kind of magic extension, which is either half magic or a bottle. But bottles on their own aren't enough, and just heart containers on their own not enough either.
Yeah, you need a lot of heart containers for it to be enough.
I think the magic number is 14, but Logic will never expect you to do that without an invincibility item.
Here goes Paraducks to set up Diver down.
Yeah, might want to get off that mirror.
Yeah, for sure. Although I'm wondering if that fire rod won't send him to Dark Cross just to clean it up.
It does put Dark Cross in Logic there, although it also... Well, we knew Lamp had to be before Fire Rod anyways, because of Aghanim. Aghanim does not accept Fire Rod as a substitute in Logic.
Yes, because there are dark rooms in the Castle Tower climb that do not have torches. Even though the Super Tile does, the room doesn't.
Yep, and that is the distinguishing factor for where you can use Fire Rod in Logic instead of Lamp. If you've got torches, the room's in Logic. If you don't, need the Lamp.
And it's time for Argus. Great spacing by Paraducks to clear out phase 1 in a jiff. Now going for the quick kill. Missed it. The splash hit was the culprit on that.
Yeah, and I don't think the quick kill works very well if Argus is too close to that wall on the right. I think it causes him to just not bounce like the quick kill wants you to. But tstew getting his pair of items here out of left side swamp. I would imagine going to be very happy with that fire rod. Because that puts tstew Ice Rod for go mode. Because we don't need the flute, we don't need the lamp. It's just Ice Rod. Which means the 3 words that I don't think any rando player ever wants to hear. Ice Rod Hunt.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many randomizer seeds you've played. The last thing you want to do is engage in an ice rod hunt, because I believe somebody once sang an a cappella tune about that anywhere but in the hands of Trinex, and in this case, not in GT either.
Yeah, although chat reminding me again, I forgot Big Keys again, and I'm sorry. But we do still need Turtle Rock and Pod and Eastern Big Keys. So those 3 plus the Ice Rod. And then Paraducks also needs the bow that we found in Dark Cross on Tstew's side.
Paraducks wants into the Meyer area.
I'm sure we'll see it in a second. And I mean, it doesn't really matter. We have all 3. Eastern, that's one of the ones we
Eastern Big Key and 10 arrows.
Yep, so I would imagine Paraducks going to go into Meyer here. Can full clear it. It is a 5/6 crystal, which will open up the Pyramid Fairy as well. And it's Bombos. Notable because it is the slowest animation of the medallions, but we had it, so it doesn't really matter. Although, actually, yeah, it sort of does matter because that Bombos was in the front of Turtle Rock. Very out of logic until we find the lamp or the flute.
Nice recovery by tstew to clear out Argus. And now Paraducks in Meyer, clearing out Meyer too.
Yep. Aggressive use of the Fire Rod is one of the best ways to quickly clear out Meyer too, and we saw it pretty well there from Paraducks.
Big chest, small key.
Does mean that Paraducks can go right off to the left side, though, and leave the spike chest and the bridge chest for last.
We're getting something that Paraducks did not check. Bombos. I don't know if Paraducks got the book, but it's just a heart container.
Trying to remember where that book was at Catfish, so no, Paraducks does not have it.
Yeah, it was at Catfish.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering here. If he's running out of here, he's probably going to go into Desert. Paraducks found 2 items out of Meyer. We know last one's on Viddy, so he's headed for the boss. But kind of just Desert being a pendant. It's not the most exciting play to go into, but the front is pretty quick to just find your 2 items and go. So the question is really just, will he kill the boss?
He wants the Meyer area first.
Honestly, though, that makes sense too, because between the 2, Meyer is your crystal. So if you can find, say, your Ice Rod there, or like your Eastern Pod Big Keys, draw you to that area, you can just come back to Desert later if you need to.
I believe Paraducks was setting up for spooky action glitch there. Which is a really cool technique. It's just one I've never been able to fully grasp, personally. I do love seeing it done, though, and seeing it done well. Looks like Paraducks missed, so he opted to go for just hit the switch instead.
Yeah, and setting up Spooky in the dark is pretty difficult. Like, I guess the setup isn't necessarily too bad, but aiming your fire rod in the dark when you can't actually see the spike that you're trying to hit, that's tricky.
Very good mire, too, from tstew.
Yep. I mentioned the fire rod and aggressive use of that being the way to clear it out quickly. Sword beams. Those are the improvement. And tstew, being on full health, had access to them.
Which is an advantage of entering mire with full health. And we are getting an NMG strap from Paraducks to quickly deal with the eyeballs here. And without a bow, it's going to require a mix of spins and slashes. You want to be careful, though, because vitreous contact damage hits like a truck.
Yep, but Paraducks with the spins and the occasional slash to keep the distance, no problem at all.
That's going to be big bomb availability for Paraducks.
Yep. And Paraducks does not have the option to go into desert here, so I could potentially see Big Bomb into the eastern pot, or actually it's more likely Big Bomb, Dark Cross, and then the eastern pod area as this next play.
Yeah, because if you do not do Dark Cross with Big Bomb, and you have it on the table, when are you going to do it? I have a hard time seeing it other than an absolute hard last location.
I am intrigued here because Paraducks did take the save and quit specifically from the light world, which means not going for Big Bomb here. And it looks like just the pod, probably pod first and then Eastern actually, which I think in Ambrosia is still fine just because of the awkwardness of routing that mirror transition in. Or no, he's just using this Dark World portal, or Light World portal, excuse me. And tstew there showing off a door state extension glitch to just dash through that rail and go.
Found.
Okay,
not to interrupt there, but the ice that's cold.
Yeah, Ice Rod definitely more important, but the door state extension is still pretty cool.
Yes, it is. And it's progressive bows, by the way.
Yep, progressive bows, so Paraducks does still have the chance to stumble into one without visiting Dark Cross. But if you're dipping Eastern without it, when we know one's available, that feels a little bit bad.
Yeah, that don't feel so good now. Mire Dark Rooms, this first one's the hard one. Trying to line up a switch to drop a Cane of Samaria block on while shooters are firing at you at intervals.
Right, and that switch is kind of just standing there in the middle of the room, rather than being like against a wall or anything. So the lineup is kind of tricky. My favorite lineup for it is to just like face right with my sword holding out after I enter the room, and then use the angle of the wall to line myself up with it. That works pretty well.
tstew is through. Paraducks just found the red meringue in Eastern.
Red Meringue does complete the Boomerang collection, but It's most runners' second favorite boomerang. And Paraducks getting all the items out of Eastern, I guess, and no bow means can't get to the boss. Not doing paw. Oh, duh, is doing paw, just has to grab the monkey. We talked about this before, I promise.
Yeah, that we did. Careful now, you get hit, the monkey runs away and you have to go catch it.
Yeah, good news is he only takes 10 of your rupees for that, and both runners are very flush with cash. But here's where we're going to see that Dark Cross come into play here. Well, I say that. tstew not going to Eastern Pod quite yet.
Small key, so pod not bow locked.
Nope, but still has that statue you have to shoot to get to the boss.
Yeah, that situation hard requires the bow. What I'm referencing is getting access to everything past the first chest. So we weren't
Right.
bow locked there, yay.
We could be bow locked here if there's no small key in either of these two chests.
But then either of these runners could either mimic clip or potion glitch to trick the game into clearing the room. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yep, but there is the small key, so we do have access to the back without the bow. Of course, Paraducks going to show us presumably a potion camera unlock, maybe a mimic clip, one of the two regardless. And yeah, for chat asking, tstew is just big keys from Go mode. Needs Palace of Darkness big key and needs Turtle Rock big key.
Half magic for Paraducks. That is a very good find.
Yeah, and it is a great convenience item, perhaps the best in the game. But actually, I guess really looking at things.
What did Paraducks just do to skip that switch?
Okay, so the way that I don't know the mechanics of how it works, but if you do the Samaria block and then you walk down right, well, down towards the pit at a diagonal, and then you dash and turn north while dashing into the stairs, it extends the stairs. And while you're in the stair animation, the pegs can't stop you. It's another one of those things like how we saw tstew do the door state extension in Misery Mire to just dash through that rail. It's cool, but it's only a marginal time save.
Top runners tend to go for all those marginal time saves because they want that edge to give them the win. And we do have a Dark Maze play from Paraducks. This is out of logic.
Yep. And I mean, the one thing about marginal time saves is you save 1 second here, you save 1 second there. You do that 100 times and you've saved 1 minute and 40 seconds. That's a bit more than marginal.
Yep, stuff like that adds up.
tstew missing an arrow there, so not going to have the quick kill, but just picking it right back up right there, and that is another crystal. I think that tstew did do Swamp Palace. Yeah, he did Swamp Palace. He's got the Fire Rod. So that should actually be number 5 for him, I believe. Leaving just Eastern Turtle Rock, the 2 big keys we don't have. Paraducks, meanwhile, is back in Turtle Rock, is actually doing the front first. There is no guarantee of small keys in these 2 chests here, because mirroring to any of the back entrances is in logic.
Should still find something important here. And tstew carrying the Samaria block right over the portal, as mentioned earlier. Very nice move to avoid going to the light world with Kiki. And there was no key in the front of Turtle Rock, so we got to do some jumping.
Yeah, and my expectation here is that Paraducks is going to go to the Laser Bridge entrance, mirror to Laser Bridge, and just do Turtle Rock in reverse all the way to Chain Chomps. That's my expectation. I'm a liar, or I'm just wrong, because he hasn't checked Mimic Cave yet either, so he's getting this, and he'll just start at the big chest. But he doesn't have the big key, so he can only go back from the big chest to Chain Chomps, and then he'll have to go down to the Mimic Cave entrance anyways to get Crystal Roller and Laser Bridge. And just that little bonk there, clip you into the rail, let you walk left. That's one of those things, anybody playing an inverted seed, give that a shot. It's actually just as easy as it looks if you're looking for something kind of cool to save you a few seconds.
And the bunny sprite for the Squirtle sprite is Squirtle Squad Squirtle.
Yep, which is pretty cool. Those sunglasses are a nice look. I am a fan.
Agreed.
The Paraducks gonna get this. Yep. This is gonna be Chain Chomps for Paraducks. And then he's just going to mirror right back and has no other choice in Turtle Rock but to head for the Laser Bridge entrance. And yeah, this is going to be another climb the Paradox Cave because the drop down to Mimic Cave is actually new to Inverted, but the drop down to Laser Bridge always exists, even in regular seeds. And that drop down is the theory, or really is the whole reason behind the theory of saving the portal if you dip into Turtle Rock with no Ice Rod. Although actually I am wrong again. Paraducks apparently never did Spiral Cave either. Only tstew did that, I guess.
And I don't remember there being anything of importance here, so...
No, it might have been, like, bombs or something, I think. Anyways. I know we saw it on tstew's side, I could not remember it, which definitely made it junk. Now, on tstew's side, we do have Dark Maze here. Unfortunately, with no pod big key to be found, this is going to be the end of the pod adventure for tstew, but it does set him up to just go right back in and go to the boss when the time comes. I guess potential exception if Turtle Rock big key is exactly in the pod big chest, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
It's certainly a possibility. Yeah, it looks like all the small keys were on Laser Bridge. They really were! What in the wide world of sports was that?
And Paraducks saw no map, no compass. Decided to skip out on the crystal roller room because only one item left. You're going to have a map or a compass and crystal roller. Going to have the other one in the big chest. And can't kill the boss without a big key.
But what Paraducks can do is run into Spiral Cave.
Yep. Cape was a left side swamp. Half magic puts it in logic. Gonna see that big bomb from tstew here now. Oh, right, we found Burna somewhere. I'm trying to remember where that was, but I think both runners do have it. Regardless, a lot of nothing for the item there. 5 nothings to be exact. Chad asking about race game. That was the Misery Mire big key, which both of these runners have, and
oh boy, that will not feel good for Paraducks when he finds that. However,
I mean,
we ourselves an Ice Palace play. This could have been done all the way back when we found Bombos.
Well, do remember that Bombos was and still is out of logic. I think we've narrowed it down so that Lamp basically has to be in Desert Palace. But until we know that for sure, I mean, it is out of logic. Although I guess the flute could be there as well, and like the lamp could be in here. But regardless, tstew only looking for Turtle Rock Big Key at this point. And answer a question in chat, both runners have checked Zora. It was a bottle. Came with a free red potion, but it was like the 3rd bottle for both runners. And I'm like, it doesn't unlock anything for us. And actually, I wasn't counting items in pod. Do we know if there's a map or a compass left to be found here in that big chest?
I'm not sure, but the gold sword was just picked up by Paraducks, so combat gets just a little bit faster.
Yep, I believe Gold Sword actually does the same class of damage to Cold Stare as Fire Rod does, so that's nice.
There's the lamp. It was in the H room of Ice Palace.
Okay, so Flute is just somewhere in Desert then, not that we need it. But I don't think there's any other location for it. Paraducks, I believe, has actually already found 3 items. I think there was one in the Pengator room, and then the Gold Sword, and then the lamp.
Oh, right. You know what? Big 20s I forget about quite a bit, because you see that and you're like, aw, $20, and I wanted a peanut. A progression peanut, mind you. Meanwhile, we get a Helmosaur King.
Yep, and tstew a little bit low on health here. Okay, he can't take direct contact from Helmosaur except that he's going to drink this potion. He's fine. And while they fight these bosses...
Paraducks.
Yeah, not really necessary with Gold Sword and half magic, but you can see how quickly Gold Sword shredded those puffs. We've got simultaneous boss explosions.
And that is the Sank Heart that Paraducks just picked up. tstew a piece of heart. They're both getting refilled.
Yep. Sank Heart saving Paraducks a few frames there, as it starts giving him the refill before he grabs the pendant. But for chat saying that the logic this seed was swamp into ice into Turtle Rock, We have to remember that Swamp Palace mirror, the mirror to open that up, was on the Lumberjack, behind Aghanim, which is behind the lamp that we pulled out of Ice Palace.
Paraducks trying to get over to Catfish, but mirror bonk.
Yeah, and some of these mirror spots can be really tricky to avoid bonking on, just because your inverted mirror is not something that you get a real feel for like you do the regular ones. Oh, well, hold on, that is still a check. There is still one item left in Tower of Hera behind that big key. And tstew trying to mirror from dark to light. This is inverted. I'm sorry. You cannot do that.
Yeah, that is muscle memory. Because most of our runners are used to playing regular seeds, and I know a number of them speedrun various categories for the vanilla game. That muscle memory sometimes hits you pretty hard.
Yep. But I will say, for anybody who primarily plays Rando, is looking to improve, pick up the vanilla speedrun. It is a great way to improve at just the basic execution of the game.
Yeah, I can vouch for that myself, even though I haven't done or attempted a vanilla speedrun of NMG in a few years now, and I know last year I did a hundo run that was aired with another community that I won't mention here to keep the focus on the runners. Now tstew shows us how we can get to the blacksmith without the Titan's mitts.
Yep, you just mirror right there at the bottom left corner of the library, and no mitts required. Although, actually, we did have the mitts pre-Aghanim, so this could be the flute as well. Okay, it's not, but purple chest hammer peg still could be.
Yeah, nothing of importance, but tstew has yet to do Magic Bat. Paraducks now going for Big Bomb.
This is going to be Paraducks' best chance to get... Or wait, he did do Dark Cross. Did he do Dark Cross, or did he find a bow somewhere that I missed?
No, he did not do Dark Cross. So this is really his best chance of doing that.
Well, I see a bow on his tracker, and I'm just... Did I miss something, or... Was that just perhaps a misclick on the book?
That might have been a swing and a miss. So he did?
Oh, and I just completely missed it somewhere. My apologies.
We both missed it. Oh, yeah, our bad. We're human. We miss things.
Yeah, it might have been just before Ice Palace, I guess. I don't know.
Got a purple chest. Now, you can't do the trick that you can do in a typical seed where you go in the Dark World, you drop the chest, run, and use mirror. No, that's not going to work here.
Yeah, because there is no mirror at that last step. But you can do the thing that tstew is doing a very good job of, and just like hookshot or take damage and then start a dash before the chest fully catches up with you, and it will follow you that way. And that's actually pretty tight timing to do, but tstew doing a very good job of it.
Definitely, no doubt. 10 arrows for his trouble, but he was down to 9, so the timing of it ain't terrible.
Yep, and we are going to get the Desert Palace dip here from tstew. And just as a reminder for chat potentially showing up, anybody who showed up late to this race, we are on a Turtle Rock Big Key hunt. We have seen Paraducks clear out Turtle Rock in its entirety, got all the items out of there except the one on the boss, which we know cannot be the big key we're looking for. We don't have that many locations left either. I mean, it's Desert, it's Hera Big Chest, it's Mothula, and it's Ether Tablet, I believe, is it.
Yep, that sounds about right. Who makes the first move, I want?
Yeah, and the chat is mentioning the Tower of Hera Big Key. Both runners did skip that with the Hera pop, but we found that... I'm trying to remember where we found that. I think it was in Palace of Darkness Big Chest. And there's the flute, so now we're back in logic.
Yep, and the flute has a very interesting property in inverted seeds. You activate it as usual in the light world. However, the magic duck only responds to you in the dark world.
Yep, which if you are missing your mirror, which we are not this seed, it could be your Misery Mire access. Because you flute to 6 as normal, and it just drops you in Mire. It looks like this is going to be probably Turtle Rock for tstew. I don't think he's seen any of that besides the very first chest that had Bombos. And then probably Hera and Ether Tablet after.
So, tstew unfortunately won't find any small keys here, but what he will run into is a laser bridge that is all small keys. Talk about heavy security for this dungeon.
Yeah. And I think tstew already did Spiral Cave, so I think that the play of just laser bridge and doing the entire dungeon in reverse is a lot more feasible for tstew than it was for Paraducks not having done either Mimic Cave or Spike Cave. Or Spiral Cave, for that matter. And there's the jump down to the laser bridge ledge.
Alma fight for Paraducks.
And this is going to equal it up at 6 crystals apiece, and then it's just who gets to whatever the right check is first for Turtle Rock Big Key. And Paraducks showing off the power of that gold sword. 2 slashes to kill the Helmasaur King. But just thinking of the locations we've got left, we've got Tower of Hera, we've got Mothula, we've got Landmola's. What are you thinking at this point? Keeping in mind that Hera includes Ether Tablet.
Yeah, Hera includes Ether Tablet. There is that. Now, if you go into Desert and you don't get it, I would fully expect a ped check before going, or even setting up a portal in the light world just so you can make the play to pull the ped after Skull Woods.
Potentially, yeah. My thing about the ped at this point, though, we have so few checks left, and it does require the Ice Palace Big Key to be in logic at all. So, like, we'd have to have Ice Palace Big Key in one of those checks, leading to Turtle Rock on ped. But with Paraducks about to get the Turtle Rock Big Key here, I think it's basically Paraducks has to do Desert versus tstew has to finish Turtle Rock, and other than that, they're level.
I thought Paraducks had Hammer Yump lined up, and the game said no, he slipped off.
First try, every time. Let's go. Nah, but seriously, I mean, Hammer Jump is a trick, like, your vertical position on that is pixel perfect, and I think he was 1 pixel off there. The horizontal position, very lenient. But the vertical position, you gotta be perfect.
Now, the way it was explained to me is that your vertical position for both setups have to be pixel perfect. So it's basically double pixel perfect. And tstew tried to catch a fairy in a bottle, but got trolled. Here he goes to the ether tablet before checking Hera. Flashing lights. Man, it's just 20 bucks.
And I will say, if you're rooting for Paraducks to win this race, the cleanest way that happens at this point is if he goes and kills Landmolas, and that's the answer. Because tstew was in Desert earlier, got 2 items, bailed without killing the boss. Oh, actually, chat bring up a good point. tstew not at all been to Ice Palace yet, which Paraducks has already cleared out. Oh, Hera, why? Why do you do this to us? We gotta sit through the tile room when you could have just put the item right there. Please,
yeah,
game.
it's kind of lame. At this point, if I'm a runner, I'm setting up coffee break, grabbing a refill, or using the toilet.
Yeah, and just using that 30 to 40 seconds, just... How do you want to play this end game out? Because there are not enough options left to call it anything else at this point. Paraducks, I think he was counting items on his way to the big chest, and then was like, oh yeah, but open the big chest anyways. Yeah, he's not going to the right side. He is going for the boss, though. So this is a big, big chance for him. Because tstew skipped this straight up. Oh, nope.
And it's in power of Hera putting tstew into go mode.
Okay, so that was very hard locked behind the Turtle Rock Big Key, which was, trying to remember where that was. House of Darkness big, had the Hera big, but Pod big. I don't remember where the key was. Do you remember where that Pod big key was?
That pod big key was Big Bomb.
Jeez, what a seed. What a seed.
Seeds tend to do some convoluted and disgusting stuff.
Yeah, but the good news for tstew here, gonna go kill Trinex here. Then he's just gonna hop in the nearest Light World portal, which conveniently right on top of Turtle Rock. Then he's gonna save and quit, and that puts him right at the door to Ganon's Tower.
So it's convenient for him, but it's also not over yet. tstew's not going to find Gold Sword, so Paraducks still has a bit of a fighting chance, but he has to go and into Tower of Hera, like, right now. Like, right after this.
Honestly, this is gonna be... If Paraducks goes straight to Hera right now, Sword advantage I don't think comes into play at all here. But we do have a Ganon's Tower Big Key Hunt, and Silver Arrows.
Oh, and Silver's lined up right there. I don't think tstew's going to look for anything else. So yeah, how about we start the guessing game then? 1 through 22, where's that big key?
Yeah, and unfortunately, Paraducks is not going straight to Tower of Hera here. But I do very much think, even if he were to, the sword is not what would do it. It would have to be some difference in Ganon's tower routing that would let him make up the couple minutes or so. But since he's not going to Hera, unfortunately, tstew, there you go, he saved, quit, wound up right at the door. And we're going with Hope Room first for tstew.
$50. And that's the big key of Swamp Palace. Oh man, if you thought Hope Room, you just got debated right there by the randomizer.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a crystal fetch quest big key to boot. What are we even doing right now, video game? Come on. Meanwhile, Paraducks giving the Smith a bit of a runaround here. Not sure where he's going with it.
Number 6 is the Big Keys Palace. There can't be any more big keys after that. The next one is definitely the GT Big Key.
We have found all 10 dungeon big keys at this point.
And number 8 is gonna be the map to the dungeon.
Number 9 is still a couple rooms away. We've got to navigate this room and then fire snakes as well. And then 10, 11, 12, 13, gonna be very quickly after that in the so-called randomizer room. Because it is a very silly room that nobody ever visits playing casually, and it only has junk in it. But
there it is, fire snake number 9. Time to climb the tower.
We are not getting debated for a third time here. It wasn't possible.
Although the game did fool us. Not once, but twice. Game wasn't doing that a third time.
Yeah, if the Skull Woods big key wasn't literally in Link's house and literally led to nothing, then we could have potentially gotten a third bait out of it. But so it goes.
Yeah, you know what they say, rando's gonna rando.
Yeah, they don't think it be that way, but it do. Yeah, the downside for Chad is that there's really only one more spot for a big quote-unquote troll this seed. And that's the worm at the top of the tower. No room for items left in this seed, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think Paraducks is doing a full commit to pedestal, which unfortunately for Paraducks won't be it, but we'll at least know what was here, which honestly at this point we've seen everything else. It's likely some sort of junk item, couch cache, what have you.
So what we haven't actually seen on either side is an armor upgrade.
Which means that's likely at pedestal.
Still
Why do I
plenty of
say
text
that?
Sorry.
And I say that for one reason. The game knows.
Yeah, it knows both these runners are on 16 hearts and just doesn't need it. Also knows red mail is for cowards. Or at least that's what Uncle claims.
Well, Uncle claims that, but Uncle's the one who winds up getting KO'd inside of the sewers. And now this guy, Mothula, this room, the boss isn't the problem, it's the room and the spikes moving around, because those spikes will nullify any hit if Mothula gets hit into the spikes.
Yeah, that is definitely a good chunk of the difficulty, fighting the Moth. But we have had a couple of boss shuffle seeds so far this tournament that have shown Moth can be a little bit dangerous in his own right.
Yeah, that is true, although in that room, if you really want to treat, a boss shuffle with Helmasaur. Because then you get the Helmacopter, and I love to see it.
The Helmacopter is a party, no doubt about it. Here's Paraducks pulling Ted. We know it's not the answer, but it is male.
It's defense! Something we have had none of in this seed other than health.
There is still one of those laying around somewhere. tstew checking the last chest of the game for a piece of heart. Better than a vanilla 20 rupees there.
And now we get Agonometry.
Almost a
Just
triple
missed the
there.
triple by a hair.
And then missed them all there, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately got a bit of a bad RNG there. Gets blue balled, and then these misses are not by that much. Gets the finish though.
Yeah, and the triple salvages that into a 4 cycle, which is not at all bad. Basically, the way that I view Agatu, 2 cycle is just RNG dependent and was impossible here with, I think, the blue ball on the second phase. 3 cycle, therefore, is generally your ideal. And 4, you're not going to lose any sleep over that. That's perfectly fine.
Paraducks about to do Ether Tablet into Hera, where he's going to get the bad news. Meanwhile, here's Ganon.
Got goose facts for you today.
And it's not even Untitled Goose Game.
tstew gonna use that half magic plus cape just to land the spins here, get phase 2 down in 1 cycle. Very nice.
As well as hold the wall to reduce the magic drain.
Yep, when you're holding on to something, cape does not drain magic. Cheeky little poke dash there with the sword. Didn't actually need it, but is just having himself a good time with it.
No torch glitch, doesn't really need it at this point. Gets a double. Last hit, and with that, down goes Ganon. We've got bacon. Get your GGs in chat for tstew as he staves off elimination from the bracket phase in tonight's race. I mean, it might be daytime somewhere, but not here.
Yep, tstew across the finish line in first place. 1 hour, 42 minutes, 28 seconds. And the most important check of the game, very clearly the single arrow, the Triforce nose. And we have Paraducks here in the tile room. Just got a few more tiles to wait for. 3, 2, and 1. Gonna light the torches, then grab the ice rod. And then after grabbing the ice rod, will be, or not the ice rod, the Turtle Rock Big Key, excuse me, will be forfeiting the race. So that will bring us to a conclusion here.
Very good race for both runners. It's just unfortunate that the 2 runners in the end game went different paths, and in this case, it was tstew coming out with the win, and Paraducks not to be this time.
Yep, and I mean, Rando does that. Especially when it just turns into you're hunting for just, like, I was not intentionally doing it when I kept calling the Turtle Rock Big Key I shot a few seconds ago, but it may as well have been for how little it blocked. Because, I mean, that
Oh, for
Turtle Rock
sure.
Big Chest was a map or a compass. I think it had to be a compass. I think we saw a map in Crystal Roller.
We are now joined by the winner of tonight's race, tstew, and right behind him, we are now joined by Paraducks64. GG. Great
Oh,
race between the two of you.
GG's. That was rough. That I
Yeah,
did
this
wrong.
seed, the seed
I
played
feel
as intended is nasty.
the logic to get the lamp was disgusting.
Yeah, that was just nasty.
But yeah, sometimes you do the wrong order of things, and it happens. The last item you check is the go mode.
Yeah, especially when it's pretty much like Turtle Rock, Big Key, Ice Rod, pretty much exactly equivalent to seed for what they blocked. But we do have tstew in here with us. May have been a technical difficulty, but welcome, GG's, congratulations again.
Yep, GG's Paraducks.
GG's. I kind of felt good about my routing until that bow. I feel like it fell apart the moment I found the bow too late. I was on my way to do all the seed without the lamp too.
Yeah, it was one of those things. You were actually both doing the same time. But it's like, tstew, you went and immediately just, like, I think you did Uncle and then immediately rushed the mirror. Paraducks, you went into the castle and just skipped out on Dark Cross, not having the mirror.
Yeah,
And
about
I
that,
think,
I was thinking about it when it was too late. I was in Aru Castle. I thought to myself I should have waited till um, the mirror, but I thought about it too late.
yeah, and I think if you're going to talk about the bow, then pretty much everything just dovetails from that one thing, unfortunately for you. But
Yep.
overall, I would say the seed was very close competitive right up until the Turtle Rock Big Key was found, because you were both 6 crystals looking for that, and we had no idea where it was. So, very respectable on both sides, I would say.
Yeah, at this point, I found the lamp. I was one pendant down. When I found the book, it was either the bed or going to the two slow checks in the mountain. So I went for the bed, which was the safe play. I think I thought, but it was just happens.
Meanwhile, I think tstew, you put off Turtle Rock a little bit compared to what Paraducks found up doing, and I think that kind of just let you combine, because you were in there with the Hera Big Key, right? And that let you go right back over there?
Yeah, whenever I did most of Turtle Rock, I did have like the book and the Hera Big Key, so I could just continue on over to that area.
Yeah, and then that let you pretty much just turn right back around, go back to Trinex and Ganon's Tower from there. But no, I mean, I like that. I like the race, the runs that both you put on here. I was really entertained by the double Dark Aga too. You never see that, let alone double.
Yeah, same here. That's the first time I've seen that in a long time, and I loved it.
Which was the second red crystal? I know TT was one. Well, I think I'm
I'm like 90% sure it was Meyer, but
Yep, it was.
okay. I don't know if it would have played differently depending the second red, but I forgot to write it down.
That's... Ooh. We've all done that. Hate to see it.
Yeah. So I guess just looking over the rest of the schedule for this group, I think Tstew, your match with Faker Jr. is Saturday, I believe? Or is it
No, it's
tomorrow?
tomorrow at
Tomorrow morning.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the rest of the group, Paraducks, you play against Faker Jr. as well. You win that, you're in.
Yep.
And if you don't, then it's a tiebreaker against whoever wins tomorrow morning.
Yes. I still don't have my final match schedule, but we'll see.
It'll be at some point this weekend, I'm sure.
Yeah, it should be Saturday, I think.
Yes, I would like to wish best of luck to both of you finishing out the group stage here. But we are coming quite up on the end of that, which is why we've got just so much intrigue in so many groups across the board here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is like any tournament when you're getting up towards the end, or in sports, you get up to the end of any regular season, there's always a lot of intrigue to see who's going to get in, who's going to move on, who's going to come up just a little short. It's all part of the fun, really. And honestly, tstew, Paraducks, it was great to call this race for you. You both put on a heck of a show. Looking forward to seeing you guys the rest of the way.
Thank you for the restream and the commentary. It was fun. It was a fun seed.
Yep. Thanks for calming this, and thanks for having us on.
Yeah, it was definitely a very twisted and convoluted one to try to play as intended, but you guys kind of broke it in half in that regard and made a good race out of it. And I want to thank you guys, because without that, we would not have really had much of anything to talk about here. So, thank you.
Yeah, that's part of the fun I have with this randomizer is how are we going to break the seed this time? This time, Dark Walking Aga. Blind said it wasn't a bright idea, but our runners were like, the heck with it. We'll do it anyway. And it was awesome.
Yep. Anyways, I do want to just look at the rest of the schedule for the night. We do have a race over on SpeedGaming that, if you're watching this live, is in progress right now. Allison versus Slapshot Fred. And then we also have a double header in progress between Gilgamesh and ACMLM. It looks like they are actually between games right now, so Game 2 going to be starting in really short order here if you're watching live on the ALTTP randomizer channel, so check one of those out, or we've got several races tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday as we close out the group stage of this tournament. And the stakes are as high as ever, with people trying to fight their way into the brackets.
As well as fighting for seeding as well.
But I do think I will leave the floor to the runners real quick for any last thoughts before we wrap here. Anything either of you want to say?
Not really. Like I said, it was a fun seed, and we'll see about my last match.
All right then. I think that will pretty much wrap it up for us then. Follow the runners, and big shout outs to our tracker Zorender, pushing buttons, letting us just talk about the race. Follow the runners, follow the SpeedGaming channels, the LTP randomizer channels, and we'll see you guys some other race.
That we will. It was a lot of fun, Reg, and this was a very fun race to come right on back to doing a Link to the Past randomizer commentary for. Looking forward to doing more of these. Well, when time allows, of course, because real life is a thing. So on that note, till next time, for Red, my co-com, our two runners, tstew, Paraducks, as well as our tracker, Zorander1, and everyone behind the scenes at SpeedGaming, I'm Leslie Pro. You have a good night, stay kind, stay safe, stay awesome, and we'll see you for the next race. Good night, everybody.